Light gusts of wind carry snatches of other people's conversations. "Were you there yesterday?" the girl asked her friend, hearing in response that people have been talking about this event lately. Loud swearing can be heard from drivers who almost collided on the same lane. "You should have seen his mug." A guy on a bike laughs loudly as he discusses with someone on the phone whether his boss will raise his salary. "This area is a dump," he says, looking in surprise at the back of a homeless man walking past. And the homeless man slowly wanders forward, looking at the people around him with bewilderment. He stops abruptly and clenches his fists in shock. People passing by talk to each other in surprise, trying to understand who this man is and why he is standing there. Meanwhile, he continues to stand in place with an expression of obvious shock on his face. His deep shock gives way to anger and indignation. "How noisy it is here," the guy thinks, getting lost in the whirlpool of sounds. That strange man in the middle of the street is Emperor Yomru. There is no doubt that he is the strongest flame emperor. Yomru knows neither pity nor tears, appearing in the guise of a man, but in reality not being one for a long time. Wherever he went, he left behind a trail of blood and the cries of the victims. The emperor was none other than the god of death, who had once killed the supreme master of the dark path, Murim, and it was he who forced the leader of the heavenly demon cult to kneel. For these feats, he is considered the main master among all light and dark warriors. Everyone knows that Emperor Yomru is the god of martial arts. The picture is replaced by a peaceful view of houses bathed in sunlight. A young man looks thoughtfully at the landscape, comfortably seated on a huge boulder. "My past now seems like a dream," he thinks. "I thought there could be nothing else in my life except blood and violence." He recalls himself standing confidently on his feet with a bloody sword in his right hand. A memory flashes through his mind of a little long-haired girl laughing cheerfully, showing him a full hem of petals. Yomru doesn't understand how she sees beauty in these flower petals. "You don't know what joy is," the girl snorts indignantly in response. She looks down at the dandelion in her palm with a smile, explaining that joy is when you laugh and dance with happiness, even if there is no particular reason for it. "Someday you will understand this, but for now I will share my joy with you." The little girl hands him a flower. The man accepts the gift, carefully squeezing it between his fingers. Meeting this girl melted the emperor's heart, and he suddenly learned what tears and laughter were. He didn't know that joy would ever appear in his life, full of chaos and evil. Maybe he should also go in search of happiness? Or, on the contrary, should he not get carried away with laughter and tears? The man throws his head back, continuing to think. "Have I really achieved eternal immortality?" flashes through his mind. Flower petals curl around the man, twisting into a spiral. They envelop him from head to toe, completely hiding him from view. The petals scatter and the emperor's consciousness becomes clear. Gradually, Yomru comes to his senses, beginning to realize what is happening. He opens his eyes with difficulty, looking upward. Through the darkness, the man can barely make out the vaults of the cave hanging above him. "Where am I?" The emperor jumps up sharply, frantically looking around. Just now, he was on the path to immortality, and now he finds himself in some unknown place. It may be just an illusion, but he needs to find a way out of here anyway. Yomru stands up and freezes warily, sensing some movement behind him. He looks around sharply and sees a huge, one-eyed cyclops right behind him. The scene ends abruptly with the slow fall of cherry blossom petals. Before us appears a picture of a half-destroyed city. The red flash of the portal illuminates everything around, shining brightly in the darkness. On command, the Alpha Group goes straight to this portal. Their task is to conduct reconnaissance and return alive from this mission. The group moves cautiously deeper into the cave. This portal is an A-class portal. The smartest monsters live here. The group quietly discusses their task. It has already been 5 years since the incident when the guards of the Zero Group died in a similar situation. They went deep into the portal, and there a whole darkness of monsters awaited them. None of the Zero Group survived. "Excuse me." One of the Alpha team members coughs awkwardly and is asked to be quiet. The silhouette of one of the monsters flickers in the darkness of the cave. The Alpha Group freezes in alarm and looks around. No one even felt the presence of the monster. He hid so well, as if he were pretending to be dead. "Commander, look!" one of the guys shouts. "Retreat, I'll hold him off!" However, to everyone's surprise, the Cyclops turns out to be truly dead, as well as a huge number of other monsters scattered around him. The entire group is shocked by the sight before them. The commander contacts the base, relaying information about the numerous corpses of Class A Cyclops and Class B monsters. The group decides to continue reconnaissance. The group's commander leans over the remains of the monsters, looking at them thoughtfully. Even if these monsters fought among themselves, the giant Cyclops could not be injured in this way by the lower monsters. This means that another guild was hunting in this place. which is interesting because guilds have recently been raiding only high-level portals. At the same time, Emperor Yomru emerges from the portal. He freezes at the exit, looking around. What is this place? He wonders. Opening his eyes in the cave, he found himself among a crowd of terrible monsters. I wonder why these monsters, which he can kill with one blow, attacked him in the first place. Somehow he managed to find a way out of that cave. What are these ruins? Is there life left in them? Having found someone's skeleton near a tree, a man borrows his half-rotted clothes. Once again, Emperor Yomru found himself in an unfamiliar place. There are only ruins around him and a complete absence of signs of life. Yomru is sure that this is the work of followers of the cult of the heavenly demon. These sorcerers used forbidden magic. And the Emperor feels something similar to this magic right now. He needs to get out of here somehow. The man goes to where this black energy is felt the least. He could clear the environment of such magic, but first he needed to look around. Yomru leaves the strange place at high speed. He leaves behind all these destroyed buildings. The portal gapes menacingly behind him. The Emperor reaches the nearest town, where on one of the streets there is a cozy restaurant called Yangchunggak, which means Spring Pavilion. The Korean Awakened Association has not yet expressed a clear position on this incident in America and China. Where there are Awakened Level Zeros, there are discussions about this portal. A large TV on the wall is broadcasting. When will we be served jjajangmyeon? Asks a couple at one of the tables. The restaurant's senior manager, Lim So-yun, who is also the director Sun Tae's wife, hurries over to them with a smile. The girl is welcoming and friendly to all the restaurant guests. It's been a long time since you visited us, she says to a young man entering the room. This is the director of the Awakened Association, Baek Yoonho. He sits down tiredly at the nearest table. Yoonho tells the manager that another portal opened today and he has to burn out at work trying to calm down the conflict between the guilds fighting over it. There is a lot of pressure on us because of the magic stones. Everyone wants to get their hands on this portal. The man sighs tiredly. The restaurant's director, Yu Sun-tae, just approached and nodded to him in understanding. This workload is killing the restaurant staff, while at the same time having some advantages. In particular, the large number of magic stones on the market means a reduction in their price. However, of course, the monsters are not at all pleasing, and the number of clients has also decreased because few people dare to leave the house at such a time. Suddenly, the door opens and a courier bag with the restaurant's logo flies to the floor. I can't work like this anymore. The courier who came in loudly complains. He holds a phone in his hands with news about another portal that has opened in the city. The courier shouts at Sun Tae at the top of his lungs, demanding that his salary be doubled. Either pay me more for risking my life or find another fool. The restaurant manager takes a break from dealing with the delivery man to let So-yoon go pick up their daughter, Ha-yoon. In fact, it is still too early to pick her up, but the girl obediently leaves anyway so as not to be late. Sun Tae stands there thoughtfully, nervously thinking about how the appearance of new portals is making it increasingly difficult for him to find workers. The courier is very upset. He only recently settled here and does not want to leave. The picture smoothly returns to Yomru, who is still wandering down the street near the restaurant. The thought flashes through his head that everything here is very different from his homeland. But there are still some similarities. The Emperor knows that many people have inner energy. Out of the corner of his eye, the man notices manager So-yoon walking down the road holding hands with Ha-yoon. The child wears a funny headband with bunny ears, and her energy makes her stand out from the crowd. This little girl has such pure energy, and Yomru wonders if this means she knows something. The wind rises, beautifully swirling the fallen leaves in the air. The girl smiles cheerfully, holding her mother's hand tightly and obediently following her. The gusts of wind suddenly increase, almost knocking them off their feet. The couple manages to stay on their feet, but the headband still flies off the girl's head and flies off into the distance. My headband! The child screams in fear and runs after him, trying to catch it. These lovely ears were given to her by her dad, and she can't afford to lose them. The little girl runs as fast as she can, not paying attention to everything around her, and finally catches up with her headband. She exhales tiredly, tightly clutching the thing that is dear to her in her hands. And only then does the girl look around in search of her mother. The child's eyes widen in fear when she hears a loud sound behind her. The headband flies out of her hands again. Expressions of shock and panic freeze on the faces of the people standing nearby. In front of the frightened mother's eyes, Emperor Yomru snatches the girl right from under the wheels of a truck rushing towards her. The man holds the child tightly to himself, trying to make sure she is not hurt. You almost got hit by a car. How are you feeling? Yomru asks worriedly. A frightened So-yoon runs towards them as fast as she can and immediately rushes towards the child. I don't know how I can repay you for saving my daughter. The woman bows. It is not worth it, and I am glad that the child was not harmed, the emperor replies. Unbeknownst to everyone, he had already given a little energy to the girl's nervous system so that she could more easily recover from what had happened. So Yoon offers to help the man get to the hospital, but he replies that everything is fine and he does not need help. Their dialogue is interrupted by the loud rumbling of Yeomru's stomach. Naturally, this does not go unnoticed. The emperor catches 2 surprised glances at himself, and only then does he begin to remember the last time he ate. It was just 1 dumpling before it got here. My dad is a cook, let's go eat together, says the girl and pulls Yeomru by the edge of her t-shirt. So Yoon joins her, reminding her that a man just saved her daughter and feeding him is the least she can do. The emperor raises his hand in protest, explaining that he saved the girl not for a reward, but simply because he had to do it. At that very moment, his stomach loudly makes itself known again, causing a cheerful laugh. The man has no choice but to agree, and he obediently follows the girls into the restaurant. What? Suntae's furious scream is heard throughout the restaurant. He looks his daughter over from head to toe with concern, making sure she is okay. The upset father hears from his wife that his daughter was saved by this strange man in rags and that he absolutely must be fed. Order whatever you want, exclaims the director. At this point, Ha-yoon intervenes with all his childish spontaneity, declaring that dirty people cannot sit at the table. The emperor looks down at his torn clothes in embarrassment. Suntae subtly suggests that he take a shower while he prepares food, and Yeomru agrees. The hospitable family provides him with clean clothes of the appropriate size. Suntae has put on a little weight recently, and these clothes are already too small for him. You'll need socks too, he mutters under his breath. And the emperor stands in bewilderment on the threshold of the bathroom. The man's gaze wanders around the room in confusion, looking for a well in which he could wash himself. Master, can I have a minute? He calls. Sorry, but I don't have enough water from this well. Yeomru points his finger at the toilet. In this way, he puts the father of the family into a state of shock. This is not a well at all, but a toilet, Sung-Ti screams. The man patiently explains to the emperor that this is a latrine and how to use it properly. After that, they return to the problem of taking a shower. The director points to the shower head, telling the man to turn the lever. Like this? Yeomru asks, turning the control lever all the way, and the watering can is torn from his hands, actively pouring water all around. Suntae shouts to quickly catch the shower head, but the emperor is too shocked by the snake spitting water to react quickly enough. After a long time of torment, Yeomru takes a shower safely and thanks the owner. It's like you're seeing a bathroom for the first time in your life. Where are you from? He hears a completely natural question. The emperor takes a second to think about his answer. He decides that saying he has lost his memory would be the perfect solution to the problem. The man says that he has retained only a few fragments of memories and does not remember at all how he ended up here and what happened before he left that cave. Yeomru learns that this cave is one of the portals that opened in the city. Portals are doors to other dimensions that open and close for no apparent reason. Sometimes people are sucked right into the portal and are left to survive alone until the door opens again and they can leave this place. As a rule, such people lose their memory, and in particularly severe cases, even their socialization skills, which is why they are called isolationists. The emperor receives a promise to tell him more later, but now he needs to eat before the food gets cold. Yeomru picks up a plate of food and looks at it with suspicion. The color of this food brings back difficult memories for him. This color reminds him of the time when he went through initiation. For the emperor, this was one of the most difficult moments of his life. He remembers the place of initiation with a shudder. In order to survive, he had to drink dirty, stagnant water. What made this water even worse was that it contained numerous corpses and human blood. Uncle, why aren't you eating? A child's voice pulls him out of his unpleasant memories. These black noodles need to be mixed and rolled onto a stick. The girl diligently rolls up noodles and holds out the chopsticks to the man. The emperor brings food to his mouth with great care. It is all the more surprising for him to feel the divine taste of jjangmyeon. He had never tried anything like this anywhere. The family is embarrassed and promises to treat him to something better next time. But the man immediately demands another plate of this delicious dish. He is not at all offended that the girl laughs cheerfully at the fact that he got dirty again. Having had his fill, the man thanks her for such a hearty meal. Out of the corner of his eye, he notices a piece of paper with an announcement and asks what is written there. The restaurant owners explain that they are using this method to find a new courier who could deliver their food, since the previous employee quit due to the refusal to raise his salary yet again. This vacancy also comes with a room to stay in, which the emperor immediately sees as an opportunity. He needs to settle down somewhere to find out how this world works. Can I work for you as a courier? He decides to ask. The owners are surprised, but they would be very grateful. Hiring isolationists is fraught with legal difficulties, but they decide to take the risk. So Yoon recalls that any citizen can become a guarantor for an isolationist. She suggests that her husband think about it, and Ha Yoon supports her mother in this endeavor. Of course, there is some doubt about this decision. But after some deliberation, the family decides to vouch for Yeomru and hire him as their courier. Yeomru is grateful and promises to make every effort to complete this work. My name is Kang So, and I am 35 years old. I introduce myself as the Emperor. It's surprising because he doesn't look his age at all, and yet he and Sun Tae are the same age. Men shake hands to signify their alliance. A flood of memories of the very girl who taught him to enjoy life flashes through the Emperor's head. It was she who came up with the name Kang So for Yeomru. After all, it is so beautiful and means big smile. Although not immediately, Yeomru nevertheless agreed to bear this name. Gradually, evening comes, and then night. Crows are making anxious noises as they sit on the wires. From the height of their flight, the city seems very tiny. Bright flashes of light flicker in one of the restaurant's windows. If you look inside, you can see Kang So, who has been sitting peacefully on the floor for a long time. There is a power circling around him, and his body is surrounded by a halo of bluish glow. He feels how much pure energy there is in this unfamiliar world. In the everyday life of every person, there are many objects that are difficult for him to even imagine. This is truly a world of wonders. Kana is distracted from these thoughts by a knock on the door. Sun Tae stands frozen in the doorway, staring at him with obvious astonishment on his face. He didn't expect to see Khan sitting in complete darkness. The morning had arrived quite unnoticed, but it had not yet had time to get light. Kan tells the surprised owner that he did not find the lamp and therefore sat in the dark. Sun Tae realizes that he needs to teach Kang to turn on the light. You press this button and it turns on, he carefully demonstrates. So Yoon joins the group and is surprised that Kang got up so early. There is a lot of work planned for today, and the owners are starting to prepare the establishment for opening. Kan sits down at the nearest table, but is bored out of his mind. Unable to bear it any longer, he offers his help to the restaurant owners. Sun Tae feels extremely awkward about forcing Kang to work overtime when he could have gotten some sleep. However, the Emperor is clearly determined to repay good with good. The father of the family gives in and politely asks Kan to help him clean the premises. A man receives a device called a vacuum cleaner, designed to make cleaning easier for him. Sun Tae asks Kang to press the button on the vacuum cleaner so that it starts sucking up dust and dirt. Without looking back at Khan, who was standing behind him, the man continued to tell him how to use the device correctly. He says with a chuckle that 5-year-old Ha Yoon also sometimes helps her parents with cleaning. Looking back at the strange sounds, Sun Tae watches Kang, who is clearly losing the war with the vacuum cleaner, judging by his hair, which is firmly stuck in the brush of the device. The vacuum cleaner may be old, but it sucks in a lot. Are you sure you can handle it? The restaurant owner belatedly clarifies. With a lot of doubts, he still leaves Khan alone with the cleaning. The Emperor is confused because he needs to clean up, but this vacuum cleaner is so dangerous. A crazy thought pops into his head. Maybe he should use his magic? Kan clenches his fist tightly, concentrating on the feeling of his energy. He points his palm towards the ceiling, releasing the magic in a powerful gust of wind. Khan is clearly pleased with himself and his brilliant decision. Further cleaning is much more fun than it would be with a regular vacuum cleaner. The Emperor's power helps him collect all the dust and rubbish into one lump. With a slight movement of the hand, this lump of dirt is sent to the trash can. So, the dust and debris are cleared away, and Khan's gaze falls on the bucket of clean water. Now you can start wet cleaning. Khan's magic gathers again into bright rays of light around him. The Emperor clenches his fist, bringing another element under his control. Streams of water glide smoothly throughout the restaurant, removing any remaining dirt and debris. A smile blossoms on Kan's face, pleased with the result of his work. A stunned Sun Tae appears from around the corner in the middle of cleaning. He looks around the room in surprise over Khan's shoulder. The Emperor cheerfully explains to him that he has decided to clean up the place in his own way. Thus, the restaurant director discovers Kan's abilities and suspects that the man is an awakened one of a high level of power. Who are the awakened? Kan asks, surprised. He learns that this is what they call people who have awakened superpowers. This process began 25 years ago, when the portals first began to open. Such abilities in this world are called aura, and people have telekinesis and various elemental magic. Depending on how well a person controls his aura, he is assigned a class. The higher the class, the higher the status and influence in society. Once upon a time, Sun Tae worked as a loader and saw many awakened ones, but none of them could control their aura as well as Kang. The man advises Khan not to waste time in his restaurant and to immediately go and get a job as a hunter in the guild in order to live a decent life. But the emperor has no plans to become a hunter. After Sun Tae said that the awakened ones here live like nobles, he was even less willing to become a guild hunter. In his life, he had already tasted wealth and honor, but he quickly realized that it was all perishable. At this point, Sun Tae realizes that Kang has some memories. The emperor admits that he actually used to live in a completely different world. One day, while meditating, he fell into oblivion and lost consciousness. He woke up in one of the portals but was able to get out of there. Khan explains how he traveled to the city in search of clean energy, and so it happened that he saved Ha Yun from the terrible iron cart. He managed to save the girl from certain death literally in the last seconds. So that's it, Sun Tae whispers in amazement. In fact, Khan did not want to deceive these people, and he is very ashamed of his misdeed. The emperor apologizes, looking down guiltily. His eyes widen when he feels a strange hand on his shoulder. Sun Tae is so touched. He is very sorry that Kang had to go through such terrible things and find himself in a completely alien world for him. The man admits that if he were in Khan's place, he wouldn't have been able to immediately tell the whole truth about himself either. He suggests keeping Khan's origins a secret just in case and telling everyone that he is an isolationist. At the same time, in the Department of Support for the Awakened, Group Number 1 is doing its work. There is a sign on the door that tells anyone who wants to know who is behind that door. If you enter this door, you can see a man asleep right at the computer. A girl in a formal suit with a tight bun on her head appears in the aisle and gives him a disapproving look. "Sun Jin Ho!" she screams. The man jumps up and down in fear. He spent the whole night at work again, that's why he was so tired. This girl's name is Kim Ma-young-hee, and she is from the inspection department of Group Number 2. Ho stretches wearily, explaining that he is staying late at work because he has no idea where to start. In response, he hands him a rather heavy folder with documents. She knows that Ho is still looking for that awakened Class 0. The man raises his hand in confusion and adjusts his slipping glasses. He looks at the document carefully, not believing his eyes. According to this paper, the chairman ordered the team to close this case. Doesn't he want us to find this awakened one? Ho wonders. He throws the folder of documents onto the table with all his might, and it falls with a loud bang. Ho doesn't understand how this can be done, but this is the chairman's order. But for the first time in history, the country has a chance to find its own awakened class of such a high level. Korea can finally take its rightful place among the alliance of allied countries. He doubts they'll be able to catch this awakened one, but Ho is confident that they will definitely cope with it. The girl decides to take on the chairmanship because she understands that Ho can no longer be stopped so easily. She has an appointment with her younger brother and invites the man to go to lunch with them. Ho refuses. Today he plans to just buy something at the store and have lunch at his desk. Brother told he that they were going to a famous restaurant nearby, but she didn't know what exactly they were cooking there. Ho laughs that it's probably at least a Michelin-starred restaurant. After all, this is the department head's favorite restaurant, and he is a serious gourmet and taster. I wonder what this restaurant is called. Quite quickly, he reaches the restaurant and sees the intriguing name, Spring Pavilion. The sign says that they serve Chinese cuisine here. The girl stops at the door, carefully looking around. Her brother, meanwhile, is chatting excitedly about how incredible the jjajangmyeon is here. This young man's name is Kim Myung-jin, and he is the chief paramedic of the first group. He is afraid that his beloved little sister does not like jjajangmyeon, but his fears are in vain because she will like any dish that her little brother treats her to. Although, of course, she herself would not be against taking her beloved brother to some elite restaurant. Young people rush to the doors, driven by a feeling of hunger. They go inside and he looks at the interior with interest. The food here must be really good, since Department Head Beck loves this place so much. They are greeted by Manager So Yoon, as usual, with her signature friendly smile on her face. She invites them to follow her and sit down at one of the tables. So Yoon places a menu on the table for them and leaves, asking to call her when the guys decide on their order. He still has doubts about whether this is a good restaurant, since the place is almost empty and all the tables are free. But Jin hands her the menu. He's sure she'll like it here. He has already made his choice, deciding to take the delicious jjajangmyeon as usual, and his sister decides to follow his example. Jin waves his hand, calling the manager over to place an order. "One sweet and sour pork and 2 servings of jjajangmyeon, madam," he voices his order. The guy smiles cheerfully, winking at the manager. In doing so, he greatly surprises he. So Yoon blushes shyly and promises to give such a gallant young man a portion of dumplings on the house. The sister laughs cheerfully, noting that she hadn't noticed before that her little brother was so sociable. Jin, in turn, asks how his little sister is doing at work. A headache is the least of what's bothering he because of the rush job after that incident with the A-class portal. This incident attracted a lot of attention, and unless the department's workers find the only awakened Class 0 in many years, they will never recover from such a reputational blow. And the chairman took it and ordered them to close this case. The girl reminds her brother of her colleague named Ho from the support department and notes that the man tore the chairman's order in half and vowed to find this awakened one by any means necessary. Jin understands that his sister is going through a very difficult time right now. Yes, it would be easier to just close the case, but how could you miss such an opportunity? He suddenly stops speaking and stands still, tensely. She turns around sharply, looking around the room, and her eyes emit a reddish glow. Jin doesn't understand what's going on and why she's suddenly so tense. It was all about Kang, who was sitting at a table with little Ha Yun and her toys. He felt an incredibly powerful aura coming from him. She hadn't felt anything like that until now, but there was definitely a surge of aura now. She knows this for sure because her aura detection ability worked on Khan. But is this man really capable of hiding his aura that quickly? If he is not mistaken, then this person has an aura of at least A class, and at most he can be comparable in level to the very awakened 0 class that they are looking for. Please, 2 servings of jjajangmyeon, sweet and sour pork and dumplings on the house. The restaurant manager interrupts her thoughts. The brother and sister politely thank the girl, focusing their attention on the food she brought. He sighs and looks down at the plates. Indeed, the food looks very appetizing and smells incredible. He decides that she might have just imagined the flash of aura due to hunger. She tries the first serving of jjajangmyeon and lets out a disbelieving cry. Jin is surprised and upset. Did she not like the food? However, he immediately relaxes when he hears that his little sister is absolutely delighted and has never tasted such delicious jjajangmyeon. The man lets out a nervous laugh, surreptitiously wiping a bead of sweat from his temple that had appeared from the tension. He knew that she would definitely like it, but he was still a little worried. He is simply delighted. She thinks it's almost criminal to cook so deliciously. At this time, Khan tensely clutches the toy in his hand. He has already noticed that one of the guests of the establishment has an exceptional sense of auras. The energy of these brother and sister is different, but they can both be called masters. Apparently, these are some of the awakened ones, so he must be careful not to accidentally give away the level of his aura. He must learn as much as possible about these awakened ones. There are complications in this world, and it still doesn't clean up as cleanly as it would like. But this can be fixed, because he is still just getting used to life in this civilization. The kind couple who own this establishment have already taught him a lot. A flurry of memories of his first encounter with the comforts of this world flash through the Emperor's mind. In this world, there is no well as usual for him, and the showerhead is too similar to a frightening snake. Over time, Khan will learn everything, because he is in no hurry, and he will be able to find out more information about the local awakened. The man's sensitive hearing picks up some vague sound from the street. This sound is very similar to the growl of some huge beast. Khan rushes headlong to the exit of the restaurant to find out what is going on. But there he meets only Suntae, who does not look scared at all. The restaurant director smiles and says that he just wanted to show him something. Khan tensely asks where this terrible sound came from. Next to Sun T, there is an incomprehensible iron device that produces that very same growl. The director explains that this is a device for fast driving, and it is called a motorcycle. Kanu will need it to keep up with his orders, but it will take time to learn how to drive it. Suntae chuckles and throws a strange, round-shaped thing right into Kang's hands. It's called a helmet, and it's required to ride a motorcycle like this. A motorcycle is very dangerous, so you can't do without protective equipment. Khan tries on a helmet that is very similar to the very helmets worn by the great warriors of his world. Suntae climbs onto the motorcycle and invites Kang to sit behind him. The Emperor notes that it is somewhat similar to riding a horse. The director starts the motorcycle, warning Khan not to be scared. After all, at this point the similarity with riding a horse ends, because the motorcycle moves many times faster, and the men smoothly move off, immediately picking up high speed. Suntae watches Kang's reaction closely, worried that he might get sick from the speed he's not used to. Khan isn't sure he wants to deliver orders in this particular iron monster. Suntae, in turn, notes that if Kang is afraid to use this means of transportation, then he will not be able to work for them as a courier. After all, the main goal is fast food delivery. But the Emperor finds this method rather slow and noisy. He could move much faster using his body lightning technique. The men park near one of the popular residential complexes, where a fairly large portion of their clients live. This complex is called Azure, and the sector number is indicated on the side of each house. Khan listens carefully to the new stream of information and thinks, Why, if this city is teeming with monsters, don't people leave? Sun Tai replies that it is certainly dangerous here, but not to the point where people are willing to leave and abandon their homes. 25 years ago, the first monsters appeared in this world, and then it really was simply impossible to continue living in these places. But soon people realized that with the help of magic stones, protective barriers can be created around the cities, so now the city is relatively safe. What are these magic stones? It's something like the nuggets that people find in the bodies of killed monsters. They contain so much energy that they fully replace the energy sources of the past, and thanks to them, such a rapid leap is observed in the development of science. But this does not mean that the city streets are completely safe, so people should be careful. Sun Tae interrupts his story with the click of a drink can being opened. The man hands the tin can to Kanu, offering him a taste. Can involuntarily moves away, not trusting the object that made such a strange sound. But Sun Tae is absolutely calm and confident that Kang will definitely like it, and he has never tried anything like this in his life. The Emperor is afraid to drink something unknown, but still decides to do so, because he was also afraid to eat jajangmyeon at first. So what will it taste like? A sensation like lightning struck Khan when he took his first sip. It was like the epiphany that comes over a person after a whole day of long and hard work. The spicy sweetness of this drink is refreshing and spills out inside. It couldn't even compare to the magical panacea that the elders of the Northern Ice Palace had once given him. Sun Tai adds that this magical drink even helps with indigestion, and Kang is completely delighted. Refreshed, they decide to head back towards the restaurant. However, Khan cautiously asks whether it is really necessary to move around on this particular device. Maybe we can do without it? The Emperor believes that he can easily handle delivering orders using his own legs. Sun Tae is outraged because it is so important to deliver the food on time, before the noodles have time to swell and the dish has lost its marketable appearance. In addition, restaurant customers get very annoyed when they have to wait too long for delivery. But Khan is confident that he can get there much faster on foot than on a motorcycle. Sun Tai is shocked, but a thought creeps into his head that it is not so impossible. After all, Khan is a high-class awakened being and his aura is very powerful. The men then decide to test whether Khan can really cope so quickly. Sun Tae checks to see if Kang remembers the way to the restaurant and starts the motorcycle. They will check which of the two of them can return to the restaurant faster. Kang on foot or Sun Tae on a motorcycle? If Kang could really outrun the director on a motorcycle, he would approve the courier's delivery without any hesitation. With these words, Sun Tae takes off. Kang So didn't get his nickname Flame Emperor for nothing. He possessed an incredible gift of the element of fire, which was called the invisible body technique. As the name suggests, when using this skill, he becomes completely invisible. Using this ability helps him get close to the enemy completely undetected and kill. After Khan attained enlightenment, he continued to develop this technique even more diligently, and he called its improved version the invisible body technique of emptiness. Khan soars into the air, rushing past the unsuspecting people with unprecedented speed. This ability not only makes him completely invisible, but also prevents his presence from being detected in any other way. In addition, it increases speed and agility to incredible levels. This new technique, coupled with his supreme martial arts skills, earned him the title of God of Martial Arts, which is even more majestic than God of Death. At this time, Sun Tae finally reaches the restaurant doors. He drove with all his might, using the maximum possible speed of the motorcycle. He wonders where Kang So is now. Sun Tai sees this as a competition and is very interested to know who wins. He walks into a restaurant and realizes his defeat. After all, Khan is already waiting for him there. "Daddy's late." Ha-Yun laughs happily, sitting comfortably on the Emperor's shoulders. Sun Tai can't understand how the man was able to get to the restaurant so quickly, since Kang has been here for at least 10 minutes, according to So-Yun. But as promised, Sun Tai allows Kang to make deliveries without using transport. The director also recalls the existence of a test for superpowers. In his opinion, Khan simply has to pass it because everyone is so interested in what class he will be assigned. The Emperor doubts but still gives his consent to take the test, and they move towards the department for working with the awakened. There are quite a lot of people in the building of this organization, mostly employees of different departments. "We finally arrived," Sun Tae exclaimed. He is very glad that he was able to convince Khan to take this superpower test. As an undocumented citizen who came from the portal, Kang So had to go through many bureaucratic procedures. He has no documents or registration and is not entirely sure how to fill out these forms correctly. Sun Tai is pretty tired of this pointless paperwork, but he simply has to finish the job because Kang is his daughter's savior. The Emperor wonders how this test is passed. Suntae explains that during the test, Kang will need to place his hands on two balls, slightly larger than a fist, with an electric current running between them. And the stronger the electric shock he receives, the lower his level will be. If you can handle electric current well, it means you are of a high level. In other words, awakened ones of a high level have a high energy potential. In this world, you are lucky if you are assigned a high class. Life will immediately change for the better, and some gifted people will even be valued as a national treasure. High class in any case ensures a comfortable existence. Someone else in Khan's place now would undoubtedly be very happy. But he knows better than anyone that wealth and fame are dust and ashes. A person has many passions and desires. They are always insatiable, and no matter how hard he tries, a whole life will not be enough to satisfy them. Once upon a time, Khan got tired of the world of passions and retired to live in a remote mountain village. He can't allow his peace to be disturbed again. From now on, he will have to hide his true level of strength very carefully. Suntae wishes Khan good luck as he prepares to take the test. However, there is a problem. In which office does the test take place? Khan goes up to the second floor, as the director told him. He is puzzled by the self-propelled box and the self-opening doors. Moreover, it turns out that these doors also talk. Finally, the Emperor finds the right office. He is met by Park Soo-yoon, the head of the second department, who will take the man's test. Soo-yoon notes that they haven't tested isolationists for a long time. The peak of the isolationists' growth was 10 years ago. But gradually, the Korean government regained control over most of the territory, and these incidents began to decline. The North, of course, had no chance before, and now even less so. Kang doesn't understand what kind of North Soo-yoon is talking about, but decides to forget about it for now. They go to the place where the testing itself will take place. According to the assigned class, Kang will be sent for training after passing the test. Inside, they are met by a pretty girl in a white coat, who will apparently conduct the testing itself. She suggests that Kanu place his hands on the two spheres and try not to move until the test is complete. Khan agrees and they begin the test. The man puts his hands on the spheres and indeed, he does not feel any electric shock because his body successfully resists. As Sun Tae said, the stronger the stability, the higher the level will be registered. Based on this, Khan makes a decision. He must contain his inner energy. The testing ends quickly enough and Kanu is allowed to remove his hands from the spheres. Everyone is waiting with bated breath for the result. The girl announces the results of the testing. Kanu is assigned Class F. F class means that the awakened one has only slightly more abilities than ordinary people, who are scientifically classified as G class. The department staff are upset. They think that Khan is disappointed with this test result, because he is an isolationist and probably hoped to get a higher class. But in fact, Khan believes that he made a mistake, because he tried to reduce the resistance to the level of the G class. If only he had guessed to reduce the resistance to 0 right away. However, the department's employees rush to console the man, asking him not to be upset because they believe that class does not determine his value as a person. In the Korean Awakened Association, the internal security organ is the Awakened Support Department, which handles matters of high importance and secrecy. The operational groups that are part of this department are divided by numbers, and the most highly classified cases are handled by the first group, and so on in descending order. The head of Group 2 is in charge of training isolationists, a very responsible position. Because among the isolationists, there are often awakened upper classes. So, even if it interferes with their main job, they are obliged to organize the training of isolationists. "Are you working overtime again, Park Soo-yoon?" asks Baek Yoon-ho, Team 1's leader. Soo-yoon is surprised that such a busy man had time to come see him. The fact is that Yoon-ho learned that an order had been signed to organize the training of an isolationist. So he wonders how the testing went. Soo-yoon replies with disappointment that although the management has not said anything about this, it is obvious to everyone that they are not satisfied with the results obtained. He opens Khan's card, revealing his assigned F class. Unfortunately, this guy will have problems due to the isolationism he experienced. People like him would be better off in a higher power class. Here, Soo-yoon remembers that at the very beginning of the conversation, the boss suggested that they go to dinner together. He's thinking about going to a store and grabbing a quick bite. These words are immediately followed by Yoon-ho's furious reaction. He didn't come here at this time of day to eat cold kimbap from the supermarket. Don't underestimate the importance of gourmet food, only fresh jjajangmyeon and gabaju. Meanwhile, it was already early morning and Emperor Kang-so was just opening his sleepy eyes. His friends in the spring pavilion had already woken up and started working. He looks at the clock, which shows it is almost 6 o'clock in the morning. Reluctantly, the man throws off the blanket and gets up. Half asleep, he can't immediately get his feet into his slippers. It's very strange and unusual, but he didn't get enough sleep, perhaps because yesterday was a difficult day, full of events and new knowledge. However, there were also some pleasant moments yesterday. After a day of training at the department, Kang tried a roll for the first time in his life. And after jjajangmyeon, it was the only dish that surprised him so much. Previously, it seemed to him that he had long ago tried all possible food in his past life. The Emperor must do something about this sudden drowsiness and fatigue, so he decides to do the breathing practice Qi. Unfortunately, he can't do it right here, because everyone in this building will quickly realize that he's not an F-class at all. It was enough that he was almost spotted by that woman who came to eat jjajangmyeon. The association building was full of awakened people of various classes, and among them there might even be those who had a much more developed sense than that woman, so he should be more careful. Kana is surprised that they even bother with his training, despite his low power class. However, the training itself was much more meaningful and useful than he expected. Last night in the auditorium, Kan listened to a rather informative lecture on the history of portals. A significant moment in history is considered to be the opening of an S-class portal, from which entire hordes of monsters began to emerge, resulting in the suffering of a huge number of civilians and awakened. Humanity managed to defeat the monsters, but the area where this war took place became uninhabitable and became known as the Land of Death, and the incident was called the Great Clash. When Khan emerged from the portal, he found himself in the Lands of Death, and only then was he able to find his way to the city. If even 3 or even 2 portals of this level were to open in the city, the association would not be able to cope with it, and it would be a real disaster for this world. During his training, he learned that society here was like a tower of ill-fitting parts, and if he understands correctly, then even the slightest shock will bring down this tower. And in this situation he appears, a real master of martial arts of a very high level. A quiet and unnoticed life will become almost impossible for him under such circumstances. Even if it's selfish, Khan wants to live the rest of his life in peace at all costs, so he can't let anyone know about his real class. The Emperor feels that a person with very pure and powerful energy is heading here. This man is Su Yun, and he is knocking politely on the door. "Mr. Kang So, are you awake?" he asks. After receiving a positive answer, Su Yun opens the door and walks inside the room. Kan looks closely at the person who entered, noticing all the details. You can clearly see from Su Yun how tired and exhausted he is. Kan gets out of bed with determination, heading towards the coffee machine standing nearby. He brews coffee, just like Su Yun taught him yesterday during his lecture on the structure of this world. Everything goes exactly according to the instructions, and he offers the man to try the drink. Su Yun is pleasantly surprised because the awakened one only yesterday learned how to brew coffee and practices this process the very next day. Kan replies that his success is entirely due to the teaching he received. Su Yun gratefully accepts the glass of coffee from the man's hands and takes her first scalding sip. This coffee turns out to be delicious. As if from the magical ingredients of the portal, after the first sip you get the feeling as if you had a good night's sleep and just woke up. Kang is pleased with the result. He specifically charged this coffee with his energy as a token of gratitude, because Su Yun puts her heart and soul into his training. He asks the boss what they will be learning today during training. According to the plan for today, the first lesson is on the topic of canteen. Su Yun asks the chefs to prepare a special menu today. They go into the dining room, which is quite busy this morning, and the place reminds the Emperor of a field kitchen from the military campaigns of his past world. Su Yun laughs that the work is indeed a bit like war, but unlike on the field, the portions in the canteen are much larger. He invites the awakened one to put on his tray as much food as he wants. Kan worries that there won't be enough food for the rest of the people, but his boss reassures him that the cafeteria staff will prepare more if some dishes run out. The Emperor finds this incredible and is glad that they live in an age of abundance after all these wars. But the man is much more surprised by the speed of logistics in this incomprehensible world. In addition, the amazing technologies of cooking, preserving, and long-term storage of food are also fascinating. This isolationist, in Su Yun's opinion, thinks incredibly strategically, despite the fact that yesterday was only the first day of his training. This huge range of products is available thanks to scientists, and for ordinary workers, the canteen is a place of rest and recovery. However, he himself rarely visits the canteen, usually making do with a quick meal, despite the fact that a meal is always the most pleasant part of the day. The man asks if the awakened one liked the food and remains satisfied with his positive answer. At this point, he suggests ending today's training, believing that this is enough for today. However, Khan categorically disagreed with him. He was sure that there would be other classes today, And indeed, today's schedule also includes a visit to the gym. For the F class, this excursion is optional, so the boss planned to skip it today. But then he realized that in that case, his own conscience would eat at him because he was deceiving a naive isolationist and cutting his lesson short. Soo-yoon decides to make time to go to the gym today. He says that any person who has an awakened certificate has every right to practice here. Regardless of the assigned class, this place is available to everyone. The only ones who won't be allowed in here are self-proclaimed criminals. If Kang wants to study here, it will be very good for him, Soo-yoon believes. However, the man refuses such a generous offer, preferring to train in his own way. Soo-yoon insists because it is completely free, and he can teach the awakened one how to use each of the available training devices. Kan thanks him for his diligence, but still doesn't agree. He doesn't think he'll need this training for anything. The head of the department, in turn, is interested in what plans the awakened one has for the near future. Emperor Kang smiles meaningfully before answering. After class, the man returns to the restaurant to see his new friends. He is glad that they met him halfway and allowed him to undergo this training, letting him go from work for a while. He shows them his brand new F-class hunter license. So Yoon is a little surprised because she remembers that Kang planned to get a G-class like a normal person. Kan admits that he was unable to contain his inner strength in time and received a result that was a class higher than he originally wanted. But this is not bad at all because his abilities are impossible not to notice, and an ordinary person cannot have them, and this will attract unnecessary attention. Fortunately, no one noticed anything unusual about him during his training. He has incredible intelligence and a high learning ability, that's all. To be more precise, he is very smart, and if you explain some concept to him, he immediately understands how to correctly apply it in different areas. The department staff concluded that he was a quick learner and excellent at applying his acquired knowledge in practice. The only thing that doesn't add up a little is that the first group of the law enforcement department noted something very interesting. The movements and sense of balance of this awakened one are not at all characteristic of his class. There were even some doubts as to whether the device had been damaged during testing. But after testing, the device underwent another thorough check, and everything turned out to be in perfect order. So everyone is sure that the strength class was assigned to this person absolutely fairly. Every person can develop his abilities to the next level, but he will never grow to the middle, much less the upper class. Frankly, much more was expected from the first isolationist in a long time, so there is a certain amount of disappointment. Especially if you pay attention to the fact that Kang So said that his plans for the future include helping his friend, and he needs help in nothing other than his own restaurant business. At this time, an unsuspecting Khan holds in his hands a mobile phone thoughtfully given to him by the restaurant director. With this device, he will be able to contact Director Suntae at any time. The man bought this interesting gadget using the isolationist allowance he received. Kan had not noticed before, but now he realized that most men in this civilization wear short hair, and he does not want to stand out. So the man is thinking about cutting his long hair. So Yoon is simply delighted she can talk about this topic for hours. So her husband carefully leaves the room, citing the fact that he still needs to chop ingredients for tomorrow's work. He leaves, whistling cheerfully and mentally wishing Kanu luck, because if his wife starts talking about fashion, there's no stopping her. A happy. So Yoon offers to help the emperor choose a new haircut. She takes Khan to the best beauty salon and remains patiently waiting for him outside with her husband. When Khan comes out, the look of shock freezes on their faces. Sun Tai feels a little awkward because he feels like the whole street is looking at his new employee. And indeed, this is true. All the people passing by are wondering who this handsome man is and whether he is an actor with such and such a model appearance. On the way home, a couple of girls approach him and ask him to give them an autograph and take at least one photo together. However, to their disappointment, Sun Tae intervenes, apologizing and preventing them from getting what they want. He says that girls don't need to ask this young man for an autograph, because he is not a movie star at all, but just an ordinary guy. Sun Tae thought from the very beginning that everyone around him was crazy, and he was right. Kan doesn't understand why he can't give an autograph to these girls, and the director has to explain to him that the thing is that Kan is so handsome that all the girls around him mistook him for a celebrity, and if they managed to take a photo, they would immediately post it on the internet. And if people start sharing his photos on the internet, then he will immediately be recognized on the streets, and this will bring nothing but problems. But this is not at all the life that Kang So wanted for himself. Therefore, he will have to be careful and try not to stand out in the crowd. The next day, work in the restaurant is in full swing. Never before had this small establishment been so filled with such a huge number of people. Kan does his job with all his might and helps the restaurant owners serve food to customers. Walking past the tables, he catches the admiring glances of all the girls gathered in this establishment. Have you decided on your order? A man approaches one of the tables. The girls at this table blush shyly, giggling and covering their faces with their hands, but finally place their order. 2 jjajangmyeon and 1 seafood udon. Kang shouts to the director, who takes the order. Right there, from all sides you can hear the shouts of girls sitting at the other tables, all of them ready to place their order. One gets the feeling that each of them is trying to capture the attention of the handsome worker, at least for a second. The cuisine here is simply superb. One of the many visitors is surprised. I would come here every day to eat this jjajangmyeon all the time. The girls at the next table laugh. Manager. So Yoon is usually polite and friendly to everyone. However, there are no more vacancies, and she has to refuse service to the girls who keep arriving. They are fully booked, but the customers do not give up and tell them that they are ready to wait just to eat at this establishment. There is already a whole crowd of girls gathered outside the restaurant doors, ready to wait as long as it takes. Seo Yoon clearly disappoints them when she goes outside and loudly announces that they are almost out of food and will not be able to serve anyone else today. The clients are upset to the point of tears. Will they really not be able to enter this wonderful establishment today? Suddenly, another girl makes her way through the crowd of visitors, actively pushing everyone aside. Seo Yoon watches in shock along with the assembled customers. Hello, my name is Kim Ji Yoon, and I'm here for an interview. The girl who came up to me waves her hand in greeting. She smiles in a friendly manner and attracts everyone's attention with her unusual hair color. So Yoon is very happy to see this girl so soon, and they get to know each other better. Ji-yoon says that she is 23 years old and has just graduated from college and is looking for a job in her field. So Yoon complains that the Spring Pavilion has been very short of workers lately, so they decided to hire another part-time employee. Ji-yoon laughs that this pavilion has become very famous in the entire area, thanks to the appearance of such a handsome worker. All the female population of the area tries to get here just to see him. Kan notices that this girl has a very strong aura. He already understood that in this civilization, people with high abilities live well and do not need anything. They should be highly valued and have a different quality of life than ordinary people. Seo Yoon asks Ji-yoon to help her with taking and delivering orders, as well as packing portions of pickled radishes. Another task has been prepared for Kan. It's time for him to go and deliver the finished orders according to the provided list. He packs the food into a special courier bag and hurries to start his work. Ji-yoon waves goodbye to him in a friendly manner. At this time, she herself will help Sun-tae with packing other portions of food. She is surprised that there are so many visitors here, because when she found out information about this place, it was said that there are usually quite few customers here. It doesn't take long before Kan delivers all the orders and returns back. Have you delivered everything yet? The girl cries out in surprise. Kan justifies his high speed by saying that all the orders were located close to here. Ji-yoon nods to him at the new batches of jjajangmyeon and jampon that are already packaged and ready for delivery. Kan takes the bag with orders by the handle and goes off to continue working. The girl blushes slightly and asks him to be careful. The weather outside the restaurant windows is getting worse. It's becoming cloudy and rainy. It's no wonder the restaurant gets so many lunch orders in this weather. Kan returns after delivering all the orders and is greeted by the restaurant owners along with a new employee. They are already making preparations, preparing for the evening loading. So Yoon looks at the time and realizes that it is time to pick up Ha-yoon from kindergarten. They tell the new employee that Ha-yoon is their beloved 5-year-old daughter. Now the restaurant is facing an evening rush of customers, and they barely have time to prepare the food. So the embarrassed parents ask Kan to pick up the girl from kindergarten this time. Ji-yoon, a little embarrassed, admits that she would also like to meet the child. Maybe she will also be allowed to go with Kan to pick up the baby from kindergarten? The parents look at each other and still decide to send both employees. They can handle the preparations themselves, so Kang and Ji-yoon leave together. It's still raining outside, so they should definitely take umbrellas with them. The girl is the first to take the initiative and tries to get to know Kan a little better. The man states his age, and the girl is amazed because he does not look 35 at all. Kan replies that for some reason a lot of people tell him this. He apologizes for the immodest question, but he is still interested in why a girl with such abilities decided to get a job in a very ordinary spring pavilion. Ji-yoon pretends that she doesn't understand what abilities are being discussed, and that she is an ordinary person without any powers. She almost admits that she doesn't have any evil intentions and that she just wanted to look at him, but she stops herself in time. She turns Kan's attention to the already open door of the kindergarten, where someone is standing. Indeed, Ha-yoon is already waiting for them along with her teacher. At the teacher's request, the girl greets him politely. "Did you have a good time?" Kan asks. Ha-yoon responds positively and happily, introduces Uncle Kang to her teacher. The teacher, in turn, admits that she has heard a lot about what a wonderful uncle Ha-yoon has. At this time, Kan lowers the umbrella, and the girl can now see his face. Her expression at this moment makes the Emperor ask if she's okay. The teacher turns her gaze to Ji-yoon, assuming that she is the wife of this handsome young man. Suddenly, recognition flashes across her face and she addresses Ji-yoon by name. The new worker doesn't give her a chance to finish, rushing forward and covering her mouth with her hand. The teacher quietly asks what she is doing here and how is her work in the guild. Ji-yoon replies that it is a secret and she is here on a mission, and Ha-yoon's parents think that she is an ordinary person. At this time, Kan helps the girl take the umbrella, and they head towards the exit. The man says goodbye to the teacher and they go home. While the adults are calmly walking home, Ha-yoon skips ahead of them, not paying attention to their conversations. Kang asks Ji-yoon if that kindergarten teacher is her friend. The girl at first tries to pretend that she doesn't understand what he's talking about, but quickly realizes that it's pointless and that Kan already understands everything. So she simply says that she and this teacher are more acquaintances than friends and do not see each other very often. Walking under an umbrella in the rain is very nice, isn't it, Ha-yoon? The girl asks. The little girl absolutely agrees with her, and she also really likes her beautiful umbrella with ducks. Kan is worried that it is difficult for the girl to carry this umbrella on her own and offers his help. But Ha-yoon refuses, because it's not hard for her at all. They agree that if things suddenly become too hard for the girl, she will definitely tell Uncle Kan about it. Chatting merrily, the company passes by some dark alley. However, Ha-yoon suddenly stops and listens. She thinks there is definitely someone there. The girl tells Kanu about this and runs as fast as she can into the gateway. There she finds a small, wet, fluffy lump that squeaks pitifully. Kan bends down to pick up the creature. He thought it was a mouse, but Ji-yoon says that's not quite true. This rodent is called the dungeon rat. So, it's a magical animal? Kan asks. The girl explains that this rat lives in the dungeons, but is not a magical creature because, unlike them, it does not feel hostility towards humans and does not try to harm them, and also has a heightened sense of its natural enemies, which are magical beasts and monsters. Due to its skills and appearance, this animal has become a favorite among hunters, and many have domesticated them. Most likely, this rat went with its owner into the portal, and there's something bad happened to them. Ha-yoon says with tears in her eyes that she doesn't want this cute animal to die and they have to do something and help her. Kan thinks it won't be easy to save her, but the girl replies that since she is still breathing, they should not abandon her. These words trigger another flood of memories of Kan's past life. How blind I was, he regrets. After much doubt, he decides that any life is certainly valuable. Otherwise, how will he be different now from his past self, from the cold-blooded killer he was? The man leans towards the girl, looking into her eyes. He decided that they would take this rat with them. The whole company hurries to the restaurant to try to save the unfortunate animal. There is little hope because the rat is in very serious condition and can barely breathe. Her breathing and heartbeat are weak, as if she is dying. Kan decides to share his energy with the rat to breathe some life into it. He doesn't notice at all that his actions are clearly visible to people from the outside. Ji-yoon watches the rat's treatment process in amazement, at a loss for words. All together, they hurry faster to the restaurant. So-yoon immediately rushes to her daughter's side as soon as she sees tears in her eyes. Only then does she notice a strange, furry creature in Kan's hands. Suntae is no less surprised. He immediately understands that the man is holding a dungeon rat in his hands. This rat looks like it was recently attacked in a portal. Ha-yoon is confident that they will be able to save the animal and she will take it for herself. Mom upsets her by saying that the rat must have a rightful owner since they found it on the street and not in a dungeon. Kan decides that the animal needs to be cured first before anything can be done. They were about to go look for the nearest veterinary clinic, but then the door opened. Soo-yoon and Yoon-ho enter the restaurant. They came to have a snack, but immediately notice the animal in Kan's arms. The men realize that she is seriously injured, and they decide to see what can be done about it. Soo-yoon picks up the animal to help. He immediately understands that the rat has already been given first aid, and quite professionally. The animal is in much better condition than it seemed at first glance. All he has to do is add a little more of his energy. Kan watches him closely, because from the very beginning he realized that this man was endowed with extraordinary power.